It ain't nothing but a thing. But it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday afternoon. I'm Elsa McGee, your host, and here I'm with my brother in Christ. We gonna just, but he down with me. He got my back, so
Yeah.
I called him my brother in crime. Tony, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm blessed, man.
Yes.
I mean, kind of confused because I got a lot of things going on in my life and at my house.
Yeah.
I'm doing some renovation. My computer went down, and I've been running over trying to do stuff that I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
Technology, man.
Yeah.
Just had me running around in circles, for the last 3 days, trying to get stuff done. But I just want to shout out to our director of the Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial, Sister Joanne. She help us get things together, even though they don't turn out the way we want them to turn out.
Yeah.
We will rescind to all of these elected officials this disappointment with them not showing up last Thursday at the town hall meeting, lunch and learn. We were prepared to feed them and teach them.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do with the project. Now that we are funded to have the construction done in the Atlanta Historic Piedmont Park, we are not just building a memorial in the park. We are building a honor to these young men who gave their lives for the country that we have today. See, I don't think most people realize, Tony, that when these 240-some young men gave their life in the U.S. military, we were still basically a segregated country.
Yes.
Basically a segregated country where everybody coming into the military was coming out of a segregated community. We had never had any kind of camaraderie.
Yeah.
No camaraderie, no relationship at all. Because the work environment was segregated. I was working at Railway Express, man, and you had a white bathroom and you had a black bathroom where the lockers was, and it was, they were separated by race.
Yep. Yep.
But these young men, these incredible young men, our peers, Tony, went into this situation. Me and you came into the same situation.
Exactly.
And it wasn't cute. It wasn't pretty.
No.
And we had to do some quick learning because we was up under the military code of conduct, and the rest of the nation was just up under federal law. We was up under both federal law and the military code of conduct. And Truman had desegregated the U.S. military in 1948. That was the year after I was born.
Yep.
But it took him to 1954 to really integrate the U.S. military because the racism don't lay down easy.
No.
It don't accommodate easily. And so it took some time for him to, in the last so-called colored unit, we don't have any history of these units except through some organizations now that are popping up and acknowledging the triple nickels, and the Montfort Marines and all them folks. This is what they call the so-called colored military, which was no more than a servant role to the what they call the military, U.S. military, and it was a ugly integration that we had to do because see, we was up against the people in the street calling for integration and people fighting against the integration, and now we are in the military in the middle of a war. Some of us going to actually fight the war, the rest of us is back up. If you didn't go out of the country, you were still a part of that war machine.
Yes. Yes.
Part of it. I mean, I don't care if you was at Fort Gordon, Georgia. You did your whole tour of duty at Fort Gordon, and they were shipping stuff from Fort Gordon to Vietnam.
Exactly. Yeah.
They was part of the military machine. It took them to 2023 before they finally acknowledged that military bases in this country was contaminated with Agent Orange. Like these brothers and sisters didn't put this stuff in a cargo van or on a Jeep and whatever it took to put it, get it to the ships or get it to the planes that were gonna fly it over where I was calling for it. You know, I was calling for it, Tony, because the bush was so thick, bro. The bush was so thick you couldn't see the enemy, and we were fighting a regular army and an army that was guerrilla warfare. They hit you and run. They come up out of you think they come up out of the ground because they had dug tunnels throughout the Vietnam, South Vietnam. So when we encountered them, or they encountered us, because we searching for them, right? They know where they're at.
Yeah.
So, but they got this heavy bush, bush, jungle, kudzu.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of kudzu, right? So you get a picture of what you up against. When you got that kudzu up, you can't see nothing beyond the kudzu. And they was knowing where we were. We didn't know where they were. It pop up, and they gone. They done took some of us out and they gone. And so that made it a warfare that now we living with people, fighting with people, sleeping with people, eating with people, that we had not ever did that before.
Yeah.
And some of the upbringing, the cultural upbringing, the teaching, was that we didn't know truth about each other. I had folk rub on back to ask me could they touch my skin so they could rub and see what it come off.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, man, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, if it take that for you to learn that, it don't rub off, right? Fistfight cuts in the very name calling. Names that we were taught, raised up with, I ain't gonna do that none of that on the show.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about it. I ain't gonna use none of that negativity. But that we name calling, name calling that we heard as children. Cause you got to remember now, I turned 21 in a foxhole in Vietnam, so we were all young men, just coming out of teenagehood. Just a lot of them just coming out of high school, and a lot of them hadn't even finished high school because they got in trouble and they needed some bullet catchers. They said, "Well, you can go to jail, boy. You can go to the military." They sent them straight. They trained them and sent them straight to Vietnam. But they did something that nobody is talking about, and nobody, right now want to be about, because in the political arena, we learned that we are better together. We better together. We was able to survive Vietnam in spite of the way it was being fought, because we were better together. Had we not been better together, a war that we shouldn't have never really been in, that lasted 13 years and took out over 58,000 young Americans.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I got called a baby killer and got spit on coming back home. That was the atmosphere. Now I know that I done talked with a lot of guys that didn't go to Vietnam, but then when they came out to military post, they took off their uniform because of the chaos, just straight chaos, ugliness, But our generation said, okay, we have solved that, and we integrated the society anyway.
Yes.
We integrated it, and you can look at the results of it, Tony. I don't care what nobody say. It was God's way.
Yes.
It was God's way. Because it should have been no way. Now, the biggest threat to these folks, these other folks that don't want to be integrated with Joe Biden today, is Kamala Harris. I forgot. I'm going to tell the truth the way it is. Y'all can like it if you want to. If you don't, it's okay with me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to speak the truth. We done had a black president. Now we got a black vice president. And you know what? Both of them was associated with Joe Biden.
Yes.
And they don't like that.
Yes.
You know what they would have called Joe Biden back in that day, right? I ain't going to talk about that. But you know what they would call Joe Biden.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know what hurt me so bad, Tony? What's confusing me so bad? We got so many people that look like me that's following a guy of bad karma.
Yeah.
You know, in our faith, you know, we would say that he had a devil spirit.
Mm-hmm.
No matter, some people might think the Antichrist. And we got a large number of us and other Americans that know better.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Following this man in politics, who and already declared that he gonna be a dictator. I didn't go to Vietnam to serve this country for no dictator.
Right.
Now, the 58,000 young men, all the people that died before them wasn't fighting for no dictator. They was fighting for this country because it had a constitution and a Declaration of Independence that made it something special on planet Earth. It made it something special because it gave itself the capacity to change and grow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It just did. It gave itself the capacity. You know, when I first started looking at the Constitution and looking at it, I said something so intertwined with this Constitution that you could say that it might have been inspired.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You like to use that a lot.
I like to use that. Yeah.
You might say it was inspired by the Creator.
Yes.
Say this Constitution to create this great melting pot where all these nations of the world could come together.
Yeah.
Because my belief tell me that we're all God's children.
Yes. Yes.
And I tell you what, I ain't seen nobody bleed green.
No.
You know, I ain't seen nobody, but now it's all about the money. Mm-hmm. But my dad used to say something to me, Tony, that I like to share with people. He used to tell me, boy, money don't make man. Man make money.
Yes.
We got people that think in some kind of way today that because they got a little money. Malcolm said like him they were gonna assimilate. Mm-hmm. Malcolm taught us if we read Malcolm, we study Malcolm. We ain't got to agree with everything Malcolm said, because he was just prophets. And if we remember our history, God didn't let Moses come into the promised land because you know what? He was disobedient at the moment.
Yeah.
And all them people that left Israel that was promised the promised land, he walked them in the desert 40 years until all of them died out. Mm-hmm. See, we better, like I want to say Greg Fan, the preacher man. That's my preacher. Yeah. Greg, I love you, brother. Yeah. I always say, if you ain't got God in it, you ain't going to win it. It just ain't going to be there for you. But God has been in this country like no other country on planet Earth, because we got people from every nation on planet Earth got a village in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They got a village in America. And I believe this, we can all get along. We can all grow. And this country, this Constitution, has the capacity to let all of us grow. Mm-hmm. We don't have to be selfish. And I tell you something, my soul was pricked just a few minutes ago coming to the station. I saw a man on the corner laying down.
Yeah.
On the corner. I don't know whether he was dead or alive. You know, and when I didn't have time to stop because I was, you know, coming to the station. And I asked myself, where's the prodigal son spirit in me? In me. Yeah. You know, because I'm caught up in the trying to do things that I know we got this teaching, this reality that gives us the capacity to recognize things of God, things that have the Creator's hand in it, and we can recognize things that got the devil's hand in it, and we don't supposed to follow evil leaders. Throughout the history of mankind, God has shown us when you start following evil leaders, I had a whole nation down. Yes. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes.
They tried to find some good too. Well, 5 good ones and couldn't find 5.
Yeah.
Righteous people.
Yes.
That would stand up and do the simplicity that God has asked us to do. Love Him with all our heart and soul, and love our brothers as we do ourselves.
Yeah.
If we did that, we wouldn't be so selfish. I don't even think we'll have walls, Tony. Really, we wouldn't have no need for walls because it's plenty in the world if a few people didn't try to hog it all up for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're trying to hog it all up for themselves. One man got 50,000 acres of land, and you got homeless folks too. What is wrong with that picture? Mm-hmm. See, so the plight of veterans have never came up the way we are bringing it up, Tony.
Exactly. Yes.
It never came up the way we are bringing it up. Because, see, it's a spiritual journey that we know that this nation, you know, in Matthew is talk about the centurion, right? Mm-hmm. The centurion that met Jesus. He was talking about that centurion and how that centurion functioned. You know, how he functioned, right? How he took care of business. And because he told Jesus, he said, wait a minute. He said, I got my servant, one of my people need you. But wait a minute, my house ain't I'm not worthy for you to come under my roof, but I got some problems. So, but, speak the word. Just speak it. And after Jesus did all this, he said, nowhere in all of Israel have I seen a faith like this. Mm-hmm. That's the stand-up faith of veterans.
Yes.
That's the stand-up faith of veterans. And it caused me to realize, Tony, that we have given so much to this country that we should never allow anybody to make us think of being unworthy of its benefits. Mm-hmm. You know, we're all worthy of the benefits. What it is, we cannot keep allowing the riches and the wealth of the country to be concentrated in the hands of a few that won't pay a livable wage, that won't pay a livable wage to their employees. But yet still they want to manipulate politics, manipulate politics the way that it should never be manipulated. Okay, Tony, would you swap cheats? Yeah. See, we don't never let the guests sit on the end. That's not possible. We don't do that. We're just veterans talk. Veterans talking to the veterans and the community about all things veterans and the community, because we are. You know, I was just coming out of Matthew. I'm a preacher too, so you have to understand that we do this out of love, out of love for God's people. And we were just talking about the sincerity and the faith of veterans. You know, to talk about what we're doing at Bear's house on the 26th of next month, under the stars, evening under the stars. This is a celebration. This is Memorial Day now, and we're celebrating the young men and women too that died in U.S. military service for this country. But in Atlanta, we're doing something different than just celebrating them in the park. We're going to celebrate them in their communities. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we do as Veterans Talk, we invite all people to our platform. So we want to be a voice for veterans. You know, we're never going to be a voice for all veterans because all veterans don't stand for the same thing. Mm-hmm. Mike Flynn was a general in the U.S. military, but he wanted a white nation. That not going to happen anymore. Mm-hmm. They want to be controlled. But we're going to do this. You're coming late. That, you know, because we scheduled you late. We didn't I don't think you understood our schedule, and we didn't understand your schedule.
I thought I was early, so my apologies.
But we're going to get started on time every Saturday. We start at 4 o'clock.
Okay,
and we go to 5 o'clock. And what we do in that time period is we try to reach out to the community. And so we want to welcome you. Thank you for taking the time to stop by Veterans Talk.
Absolutely.
And we got. I didn't get any information on you, so I'm gonna give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, just not to the audience, but to us too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And as things progress, if there's an opportunity for me to return on time next time, just let me know. I am Ishay Collins. I am honored to serve as the District 6 representative on the Atlanta Board of Education. I just rolled off as chair of the board January. I'm originally from Atlanta, born and raised in Atlanta. I grew up in the East Atlanta area. Educated in Atlanta. I went to Spelman College, taught in Atlanta Public Schools as a teacher, did my master's at Georgia State University, and became an attorney. I went to North Carolina Central School of Law, came back to Atlanta about 16, 17 years ago, and I've been practicing in civil rights ever since, working with districts and communities to address issues of equity. My work is centered. I always start, the center point for my work is the way I was, is embedded in me from the day I was born and the way I was raised. I'm from a family full of strong women and strong leaders that when you see something wrong, when you see something being done wrong in the community, you have an obligation to step up and help, and you have an obligation to lean in, particularly if you're able. And when you see others that are struggling and others that need help, and you're able to do that, it is your obligation and your duty on this planet to do so. And I think, just having the Collins name and those that know my family well, is that's embedded. That work is embedded in me. I've sat on the board for the last 10 years and represent the complete south side of this city, and have really pushed for a voice for everyone at the table, and the loudest voices for those that often can't advocate for themselves, and those of our children. Those are our children, and over the years have been really on the ground doing this work and having an opportunity to really move the needle and making sure that all of our families have what they need and our children have what they need to succeed. And it's been a challenge, and it's been a challenge and a fight. Are we fully there yet? No. In full transparency and honesty, no, we're not. But we are eons ahead of where we were when I got into elected service. And part of my trajectory is just that I am running for Atlanta City Council at large post 3 seat. That race is in November, and that is the seat that Keisha Waits stepped down from probably about 2 months ago to run for another seat. And with that, it is that same movement and that same movement and goal to continue to uplift our families and our children, and to ensure that every voice and every community in this city has a place at the table to really have a thriving life in this city. There's a lot that Atlanta has to offer for everyone, but there's also a lot of ways that we really fully haven't served everyone. And with the experience that I have and the leadership that I've been able to exude and the results that we've been able to achieve, I'm really excited to be able to bring that level of experience and leadership to continue to serve our communities and to serve the city that I love. I grew here. I didn't flew. What they say? I grew here. I didn't flew here. I didn't fly here.
I'm from here. I didn't come here.
Right. Yeah. I'm from here. I did not come here. That's the new one. So that's my new hashtag I'm going to use. I'm from here. I didn't come here. Yeah. So yeah. So you know that when you see where the city was and where it is now, and you have a true vision of what it could be moving forward, and it's touchable. It's tangible. I can see it. I can feel it, and I want to be able to make that happen for all of us.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna say homegirl because see, we're the sons of Atlanta.
Yes.
When I say the sons of Atlanta, like we didn't come here, we're from here, and we, this is why we served. We served in the U.S. military, all branches. When you talk about the sons of Atlanta. And we're all branches, but now actually we Vietnam Veterans of America Chapter 1118. Sons of Atlanta is one of our projects. That's just one of the things that we do. The main thing that we do is to get benefits for veterans. Yep. We went into the military understanding that was a opportunity a stepping stone to get benefits. And I personally use my benefits to the point that they stopped me from going to school. They just say, you don't use all yours, so you're going to have to start paying. But
Really?
I never did. That never stopped. I never had to pay for it. I never had to pay to go to school. But, you know, it's one of the benefits, and a lot of other benefits that we get in the military, that's all of them meant for the veteran, family, and the community. And because we are a part of the community, and I think sometimes when we look at the plight of veterans, we looking at local media who only gave you a snapshot of a veteran being attacked at Fulton County, at McPherson's medical center. And the idea that we have one of the worst VAs in the country is concerning to me.
Absolutely, as it
You know,
should.
and it should be concerning to everybody that's running for politics, because we serve nationally, but we live locally. You know, I serve, you know, so when I go to Washington, D.C., and I've been there several times as an advocate, when I go to the memorial in Washington, D.C., I'm overwhelmed because I know too many names on the wall. And I don't know what their families felt, you know, but I know 6 guys was from my high school, Washington High School, that were killed in Vietnam. One of them was my best friend. And I know probably more from him because we walked down the streets of Atlanta together. We grew up, we were going to the same elementary school, going to the same high school. And he was killed in April, the same month that Dr. King was assassinated. And I often wonder, you know, his death came after Dr. King's death, because when Dr. King was assassinated, that was riots in Vietnam for at least 2 or 3 days. Then we quieted down and we realized that, okay, that's messed up. But it ain't nothing but a thing that we got to deal with. It's just something we got to deal with. But right now, we're in war. You know, and we're in war with people that came from different communities in the same hometown. But we had become one for a cause. And that's why we believe that the spirit of these young men should be something to teach our community.
Absolutely.
And what we're doing, we'll represent that. We represent that with Fulton County. We have gotten Marvin Arrington Jr. to lead the fight to establish, for the first time in history, a veteran service program. This is going into the 3rd year, right, Tony?
3rd year.
3rd year. And every year they've been giving out $1 million. And Marvin was on the show just 2 weeks ago. Saying he want to see more money. Why do he feel like that? Because he see now the plight of veterans. You know, you go downtown, you see the tent cities. Nobody should be homeless in this city. But, you know, a lot of those guys are veterans.
Yes,
you know?
I learned that.
And the irony is, how do you think you done earned the right to get a house without no down payment and all that stuff, and you're homeless? So that should shock a lot of people. Why are you homeless? You done earn benefits where you can get a house with no money down, and it's cheaper to buy than it is to rent in my hometown now. And we want to know why. Why? Because you got developers coming in here buying up all the property. You know, and we ain't got people in government saying nothing right now. They need to take focus on some of this stuff that's causing this lopsided economic growth in my hometown. You know, and we want to make sure that we do. What we want to know, how many veterans do you know?
I know a few actually. You know, definitely family that have served, but also in the community. You know, the community that I represent, and so there are a few veterans that I know in the Cascade area. Whether I call explicit names, Mr. Victor Grant that served in the military. About 30 years ago. I have recent friends that are served in the military. Again, like you said, the benefits and the cost of college, cost of college at that time, that are young veterans. As a matter of fact, I'm 44 years old, and so I had lunch with a good friend yesterday. That's a vet, Rodney Adams, that went to Morehouse, but also served in the served in the Army. So I understand and respect the commitment, the service, and the dedication of our veterans in the country. What I will say, and in full transparency and honesty, this dialogue and conversations like this are so key for those like myself that did not serve, to understand how can we do things differently, how can we do more, how can we actually do more. And that comes with this, right? This comes with the conversations and the coalitions, and understanding hear more of the stories and more of the deeper ideas and commitment that our veterans want to see. And so I hope to add you all to that that list as well, particularly as I'm in the public service space and as an elected official. That is a big part of my work, and a big part that I hold really true and dear to is the fact that I represent the community. And with that being said, the community, my doors are completely open to the community, so I can be a steward on how to get this right, but also how to make sure that we are addressing and bringing everyone to the table. So I'm really, when Val reached out to me about it, it was a no-brainer for me, because this is also a learning experience, for a learning opportunity for me to understand how can I continue to support it and support our veterans, and also expand support and impact. So yeah.
Now, Michael Julian Bond.
Yeah.
I grew up on the street with his daddy. Lived on Drummond Street.
Drummond Street, yeah.
Drummond Street.
And Booker T. Washington just turned 100. Is what, the 100th year? So happy 100.
I'm gonna be there.
Happy 100, Bulldog.
Yeah, Bulldog. Because it was an institution that touched my life. It's helped shape me who I am.
Yeah.
And it's actually on our website. I didn't know I didn't think about the 100th birthday.
Yeah.
I was talking about the things that shaped me.
Yeah.
And
put that up there.
One of them is Booker T. Washington High School. I mean, besides my parents, Booker T. Washington was key in shaping my sense of community and what I wanted to do with my life. And I went through Vietnam, came back one of the wounded in Vietnam. And when I got back, there was no such thing as post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh.
And it took until 1980. I was wounded in 1960. 1960. I won the same year Dr. King was killed, but I was wounded in September. I came home, one of the returning wounded from that war. Completely different from the way I was when I left home. Who dealt with that? Who dealt with that drastic change in my life? It was my family. It was my mom, my dad, my sisters. And to the point, it was so tragic. One of my sisters, who was a minister, been a minister longer than me, one of my older sisters, she used to tell people that I was still in the military when I was in prison. She was so ashamed of the fact that I had transgressed from what I was raised to be to being a convicted felon. And it was Michael's daddy and Jose Williams, Ruby Hurley, Earl Shinholster, that fed my cause. And I actually, because of them folks, I went to Washington, D.C. from prison to be before the Senate Committee on Veteran Affairs to talk about PTSD, because I was diagnosed with combat fatigue.
That's what they call it. Combat fatigue.
So you tired of combat? Yeah, I was tired of combat the first day, but they were trying to kill me. So I was tired of that before I got wounded. But I make it comical now, because it took all this time for us to come to grip as a nation, right? As a nation, to deal with this problem, to confront this problem. And the time that we spent on trying to get this problem before the public. My hometown stood behind me. You know, I mean, not everybody, because some people were scared of me. Oh, they're robbing banks. No way, no way. We can. I mean, they didn't even fit that with that. But they didn't understand PTSD either. And I'm saying that to share this because of what we've learned and what we caused to happen in this country with PTSD. We are hoping that the school system will recognize that some of our children have PTSD before they get into first grade.
Absolutely.
So the behavior problems that we are seeing in our young men, we're just blaming our young men for those behavior problems rather than trying to figure out where they come from. To be traumatized is to be put in a mental state of survival. You get paranoia, you know, you get all kind of different things happen with you when you're in a mental state. And we're not dealing with that in our children. And as we got too many young men not finishing school. I went to prison with high school education. I came out with 2 master certifications and paralegal. So I understood the law well enough to make the prison system uncomfortable. You know, because when you got Ruby Hurley, Irv Shinholster, all them people, you know, coming to prison, and the young coming to, you know, speaking out with what is going on with all our veterans in prison. What's going on with that? Now they're not sending them to prison as much as they're committing suicide. Same scenario. The community is not prepared to help them, to work with those families that got this coming back to them after military service. Now the dogma is that they done come up with 2 or 3 different diagnoses for mental illness now. You know, adjustment disorder. You know, you got a bad behavior, boy. Adjustment disorder. But see, we want elected officials to be able to understand these kind of things with our young people, because every year right now, every time Washington High graduate, every time Mays graduate, you got young people going into the military.
Absolutely.
And they coming back messed up. The mother got to deal with the fact that her son, you know, one of our people, the son committed suicide. This boy came home struggling with the VA, and you know, pride, military training, you ain't gonna open up. You can't open up. They internalize this stuff. And today, 17 to 22 young people are committing suicide every day. These are families that gave these young folks to the military, thinking that they're building something. It is an opportunity. I'm not going to cut it up. I'm proud of my service, and I'm proud of the people that serve. But we need to understand the ramifications of all of this.
Absolutely.
And have politicians that will listen and learn and respond. Because you think about this young lady lost her husband and her son. Both of them was veterans, right? Yeah. And she had not gotten any benefits as a surviving spouse. And the thing is structured for them to do that. But they make it so complicated. And then we sit in a bowl of ignorance because our lawyers don't advocate different things in our community. You know, legislative changes can make a big difference.
Absolutely. I would say on our end, if I can chime in a little bit, for the school system side, social emotional learning and mental health wellness has been a key piece for us. We've been investing in that for years. Based on what you just said, a couple of things I wanted to uplift what you're saying is that we acknowledged a long time ago that our children was entering our schools with some level of trauma, and they themselves not know they're young, so they're like, how do I feel this way? Why am I acting this way?
Don't know either.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why am I responding this way? And it's kind of hard when you have a 5-year-old, 5 or 6-year-old, you're trying to help them navigate that. And then if it goes untreated or unaddressed, all it does is compounds over the years, and then you see it lash out in the middle school piece, and you see it lash out in high school
we got
pieces.
more young people killing each other in this city than I ever think would happen.
Yeah, and so one thing that we definitely did as a school board, and I'm honored to have been able to be at the table for this, is make huge investments in in mental health wellness for our students and social emotional learning. And I really want to chime into the difference, right? The our mental health wellness piece is we offer services, and it's a organization that we partner with called Hazel Health that really help our students when they feel they need to talk to somebody, when they feel something is not right or something is bothering them. What we noticed, and one thing that you acknowledged, what we noticed was it was a complication of you got to call the parent to get the primary care doctor to try to get the referral to get the Medicaid,
bureaucracy.
It was the Medicaid alignment. And so what we did, we partnered with a company called Hazel Health, where our students, when they say, hey, something's not right, I'm not feeling right about something, I need someone to talk to, we bypass that as a district, and they have access to a psychologist, a psychotherapist immediately. And that was part of the trying to remove some of the, like you said, the bureaucracy and the complication for our students to get immediate service, right? Because if they're telling you something is bothering you, you have to go through all of these levels. You send them home, right? And there's no telling what would happen. There's no telling, what the outcome would be. So that's an example of our mental health wellness piece that we lean into. The social emotional learning piece, and you'll see this acronym more, is SEL, but it means social emotional learning. Is teaching our children how to deal with, feelings, and how to deal with their responses to things, and how to also question things, right? If they're feeling like something is not right, and they see it's not right, instead of lashing out in a physical way or whatever verbal way, is helping them, teach them how to acknowledge that feeling, kind of do a breakdown of looking at the situation and asking questions and feeling empowered to act. So we definitely, as Atlanta, APS, and I've been honored to serve on a school board that has done this, made huge investments in that space. So much so, it required us at the beginning to actually train our teachers differently. So I mean, as a young teacher myself, when I taught in APS, I didn't have, they trained us in classroom management, right? So when you have the student that, how to build your consequence systems and how to build your incentive systems in a classroom to either reward or punish, or punish behavior. We necessarily wasn't trained on, well, you have a student that's coming in and you notice something is not right, how to really help them work through those feelings. We just took on pseudo mom role, right, or pseudo dad role, and help figure it out. And so it also has required us to really train our teachers differently. And we're already seeing the results of that and the outcomes of that, where students are just feeling more empowered and more vocal about expressing themselves, particularly, let's call it out, particularly in a Black community where it wasn't the comfort there, right? Like, you don't share. If you don't share what's happening to everybody, you hold it till you come home and you figure it out. We are now seeing more of our students that are just being very vocal about not feeling right about something, or wanting to react in a certain way, or a student was like, you better get him, Miss Collins. I was like, wait, what does that mean? Let's figure this out. I do feel our students are leaning more to understanding those spaces, but I also do want to acknowledge what you're saying. A lot of pieces in terms of suicidal rates in our young adults, and what we're seeing is not so much like the mental health pieces that I just shared with you. It is the stress, the stress to to do well. The stress of when going to high, when you come out of high school, you need to make sure you have a path. You have to have a path ready, right? Is it college or is it here? You have to have something, and so we're seeing more students that are dealing with that, with the anxiety of just wanting to succeed, and how society has labeled what is success and what is failure. And failure could be if you're not if you're not doing something so productive. And think about the environment our kids are in, where they see so much on social media, right? I'm like, every 18-year-old is not a millionaire. Like every 18-year-old, it does not have 1 million followers. But that is sometimes the litmus test a lot of our students are measuring success on, and it really causing a lot of anxiety, a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of feeling of failure that that we're seeing more of our students are being very vocal about seeking help on that. And so there's a lot of external influences that our students are seeing and experiencing that I know wasn't out there when I was young, and definitely when most of us in the room weren't, but are very, very real with our students. Their image of what success is. It sometimes it's like unreasonable, it's unreasonable. It's like, oh, it's okay to be 18, it's okay to be 17 and get you a job at, Walmart and, or Popeyes, wherever it is. It is okay to have a normal life as a 17-year-old. You're looking at social media and wanting to get 1 million followers and wanting to monetize off of that, and such was able to buy a car at this age, and there is this stress that we're seeing that's happening.
You hit a point there that got me thinking. Those are wonderful ideas for within the school system, but the kid has to go home, and their parents and grandparents were not trained to handle situations like this. All of this new technology is not a part of the training of the parents and the grandparents. And unfortunately, a lot of situations, those grandparents are the ones that are raising. And so the standards were different. And how does that kid is trying to process that training and that information that they're getting from the parents and the grandparents with this new technology that the parents don't understand. And so there's an element there of failure to communicate, And so when considering all these things for the kids, you also need to consider that for the parents and the grandparents, because they need to be aware of this new technology that these kids are dealing with, that we didn't have computers.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, all of that. And so there's a gap there that needs to be filled in so that everybody, because guess what? They're going to get conflicting ideas. All those wonderful things that they're being taught at school, and they go home and it's totally different. And so it's almost like, growing up, I can remember having PTA meetings, and my parents were there, and I'd venture to say you don't have that kind of a participation now in those PTA meetings. And that's critical for the parent to understand what the kid is learning, and so that they can relate to it. And the kids can also relate to what the parents have taught them, because they're getting something from home and something a lot of times totally different in school. And they got to process all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you I appreciate you uplifting that as well, and that's part of the work that we're doing and the work that's growing. And I want to hinge on another point with that. So, and as I shared with you how with our SEL work, we were training the teachers and really like helping our students, and our students were coming home having different conversations. So much so that some parents literally, I had parents to call and say, "Hey, Ms. Collins, my child's coming home and saying that you guys have like the first hour is this mindfulness hour, and they're talking about all these things. How can parents get involved?" So APS has built that parent university part to help in that space. What I will say is the engagement piece. That's the piece that we have to pull more parents in, and more of our caretakers. Because to your point, I do want to acknowledge that we have a lot of grandparents that are raising children, parents. other relatives that are raised, so our caretakers into more. But this is also part of like this collective effort from the city as well, to really truly partner with the school system and in other areas to help us with that population, right?
Yes.
Because what we also see is, you talk about your experience with your parents was at the PTA meetings, and we still have PTA meetings, and they thrive in different areas of the city. And what you recognize with it, in different areas is the fact that some PTAs that are not as active, they're in communities where I know for a fact parents are working. They're taking care of multiple siblings. A lot of those, the older siblings, they are the head of the household. So that is also part of the conversations that we've been having. And the mayor and the city has been extremely supportive in helping build and expand like the parent university pieces, some of the engagement pieces outside of the school system, into our community. That's still growing work, and it's not fully where we want it to be, but it is an opportunity to acknowledge that the engagement of our caretakers and our families at the table does not stop at the schools.
Right.
It really don't. And it was at one point where we actually had to push back a little bit, because school system, we were even being held responsible for what happened to children and families 7 p.m. At night in the summers. And I remember having direct conversations with people and saying, telling them we offer all of this for our children from some as early as 6:45 in the morning to as late as 6:45 or 7 p.m. And all we're asking is for other entities, whether it's our city, our Fulton County services, to step in and support our children and our families with those hours. And in summer as well. We're doing summer, June. I cannot ask my teachers about our teachers and our school leaders to also be responsible for children, for what our children are doing on the week, like literally Saturday and Sundays. It was a lot. So it just opened up a larger dialogue of opportunities where other entities at the table, like our city council, like our city government, and like Fulton County, and I shout out Commissioner Arrington as well, being at the table to have a collective conversation about how we can provide opportunities and a holistic experience for our children and families, that we're collectively together meeting all of these different points. So I appreciate you uplifting the engagement piece.
Well, this has been Veterans Talk. It really ain't nothing but a thing. It's a thing that we want you tuned into.
Absolutely.
On Saturday evenings.
You want a part of this too.
We are here, to become that unifying force in Fulton County. The Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial is a call to unity for veterans in our community. Now, one of the things that veterans, and we need the community to do, especially those people that run for political office, one of your highest voting demographics is veterans. And one of your highest performing demographics in the community is veterans. Yep. When politicians overlook that and don't hear our voice, we go into the poll.
As you should, absolutely.
We go into the poll. And what we're doing with the show, we don't endorse or, side with any politician or any party. What we try to do is bring all people to our stage.
Absolutely.
And let the community hear. And let them make that decision. We want them to make informed decisions about who they're trusting to their government, because I'm watching Margaret Taylor Greene and I'm getting sick on the stomach.
Right.
I can call a few more from Georgia that are sabotagers, and some on the city level. We watch Alex Wayne try to sabotage the memorial. And Michael just, brother, just a true soldier. He fought until we got it funded. So the city of Atlanta is funding the Sons of Atlanta Vietnam War Memorial in Piedmont Park. That
congratulations.
Part. But that part, we know we ain't just building a memorial in the park. We're not doing that. This is a movement in the community where these people come from. We know that we can all get along if we tried to. Because we went into the military that was diverse. It's still the most diverse part of our community right now. Those people get along better than any other demographic in the community. And we need for people to understand that most of the problems in our community today are caused for a lack of unity with people, you know, collaborations with people, partnerships with people. And that's what we're trying to do with our project, with our program, not just the project, because I chair Concerned Black Clergy's Veteran Affairs Committee to make sure that the churches are speaking to
Absolutely.
This, you know,
Absolutely.
And Shannon and Greg, they are partners with us, you know, and what we're concerned about, and we know we're going to be able to deal with it in this next exercise, gun violence in Atlanta. We're going to get control of that because we're going to make sure we got politicians that are not bought up by the NRA.
Absolutely.
These other gun control, gun marketers, gun thing. Because I grew up in Atlanta, and we didn't have 13-year-olds being shot down in the streets. So I know we can live in a community where that don't take place.
Reverend McGee, question please. How can we collaborate with the Board of Education?
Well, we can collaborate with the Board of Education by them coming to. Well, let me say this: my niece is a doctor, and she in special ed. You know, she went to Spelman as well. But you know, and she was in special ed. I think she went to the library system now because she felt burnt out because they don't have enough resources. They don't have enough people within the education system to do what we just got through here and you talk about right now. And we're convinced that we need it done because, you know, we're from Atlanta. We got cousins and families and all these things here. So we want to help make the education system more responsive. You know, I mean, I got cousins that, young boy that just was a pure athlete, right? Pure athlete. Was just standing out. He done got kicked out of school for being in the gang. We got gang control in the schools and you know, in some areas in the city. You know, because they're up in there. So we're going to start having veterans up in there. We're going to have veterans volunteer to come up in these schools. My niece, that's a doctor in special ed and education right now, my sister went to school with them every day, all 5 of them. And she knows she got 2 doctors and all the other 3 sons got college degrees. And they have no bill when they finish college because they all went on scholarships. You know, I know if they could do it with Richard working at Grady driving the ambulance for 30 years. You know, they weren't no rich folks, but she made sure that her children was educated in a way. Now they're giving back. They're in the Atlanta public school system. So I know that some of them are being burnt out with the, you know, so let's face the fact. We're gonna partnership up with you to make sure you're getting the resources that you need because we're gonna vote people in the office that's gonna give you the resources. But you're gonna have to perform too.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's what we have. Because see, in the military we perform. See, you know, we do what we got to do. Else, see, that's an else with us. See, if you talk to some of these young veterans, you know, it's an else. You perform, or they go in your pocketbook first. They start hitting you for your money. You pay. You go to step up, get your pay short because you done got an Article 15 for being late. You could be 3 minutes late.
Let me add one little thing, because we're running out of time, is veterans is an untapped resource in this city. We're sitting here with all of this knowledge and willing to, most of the time, all we need to be done is invited to the table. Invite us to the table, and we'll be more than willing to share the experience that the 2 of us have, you know. So,
and the resources.
Yes.
See, because we know we got some people on city council that'll go down with us. You know, we got some people on Food and County Commission that go down with us.
Absolutely.
We got a few people in Georgia General Assembly that'll go down with us because they know where we show up.
Absolutely.
We show up as veterans, and they know that we are showing up for the betterment of the community.
Absolutely.
That's the way we serve. We're so happy to see young.
Yes.
Listen, we don't know how happy it makes me feel when I see colored folks.
You would go there.
In my hometown.
Yeah.
Because when I went in the young
Yes.
in my hometown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't happening when I grew up. It just wasn't happening. It started when I went to the military.
And hold us accountable, you know, and that's a big thing I would say, you know, being you know, not so young when I first started.
Okay, they couldn't cut us off.
I would just say hold us accountable. You know, I have a I have a record of my leadership, but hold us accountable. So thank you all so much. This has been great.
Thank you.
And looking forward to the opportunity to continue the conversation and have you guys at the table.
Yeah.
Love it.
Because see, we're gonna be coming into the communities with the same kind of spirit that these men went into war with. The same kind of spirits that they served us with, the sacrifice that they made. We coming in the community to clean it up.
Yes.
To make it that holistic community, you know, that beloved community that another homeboy talked about. Don't y'all get me started.
Yes. This is great. This has been great.
Don't get me started.
So
But we love it now. You know, back next week, same time, same place. Share us with everybody. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Next week.
Love it. Yeah, you get.
Yeah, we get carried away, though.
Real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna